Welcome back to Swanzey Then and Now. I'm your host, Jody Turner, and we have Lee Dunham here as well. He has lots of things to share with you today about the history of Swanzey. And Swanzey is 5 little boroughs. So we have, let me see if I can do it again this time, North Swanzey, East Swanzey, West Swanzey, Swanzey Center, and our focus for today, Westport. Yes. And I just find it so interesting to learn more and more. So as I'm doing research, because I need to do a lot more research than you do because you've got all kinds of photos and stories and you've lived this, but I'm finding this really interesting. And what I've done is, it's winter while we're shooting this show, and I go out on a snowmobile and we go down the railroad tracks. And so the last couple of times that we've been out, we've been going down the railroad tracks from Swanzey. I live in Swanzey, but from Swanzey down along the Ashwillet River towards Swanzey Center, sort of.
So you follow the trip of a train.
We do. We follow the train tracks. And so what I find really interesting is that you get to see a different point of view than you would have if you were on the road. And the other thing that I think of is, what was it like when people were really riding these trains? And they were being used, you know, like we look at it like we go to an amusement park and you're going to go ride the train or you're going to go for a little trip, you know, in the fall and you're going to go see the autumn leaves. But these people, this is how they got from here to there. And that's how they transported things. And that's what they had after horses. You know, this was your next step up.
And when you went to 8th grade in Keene, a lot of kids rode to Keene.
Train.
They take the train to Keene and come back.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we've had, I've spoken with Maury Whitney quite a few times, and I would love to have him back on. Maury, if you're out there, we'd love to have you come into the library. But he's got so many stories about the railroads and things like that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so today we're going to head down to Westport. So you go down the railroad tracks, you have to go by, you know, over this road and over that road and cross another road and go around a corner, and nothing's straight like it would be on a road. You know what, I mean, the railroads had to have it kind of straight, and there's not a lot of hills because, again, it was a railroad.
Yeah, they flattened out everything.
Right, right, yep. So I'm going to look into my photo album here today, and we're going to actually start with something that's not in Swanzey, but very close. It's a covered bridge. We'll do another show on covered bridges too, but the Coombs Bridge, which is actually in Winchester.
Just over the line, yeah.
Just barely, yeah. So if you went on the other side, back to Westport, you'd have the Slate Bridge. You cross over Route 10, then you have the Coombs Bridge. And do you have any information about the Coombs Bridge?
I don't have a lot. I can only tell you that I've been there before when somebody's run into it.
Right, which happens quite often. Yeah.
On Swanzey bridges, it happens all too often.
Right.
But it happened on Coombs Bridge.
Right.
And for that particular incident, Winchester Fire was doing a brush fire up on Pisgah.
Yeah.
And so they needed Swanzey to come help out, and so we went down. So.
Yeah, yeah. And just quickly, while we're on Pisgah, they have some of the most beautiful snowmobile trails. I cannot believe it because it's like riding on a highway. It's like going up north and going snowmobiling. So I don't want you to go there because I really like the trails, but they are beautiful. Okay, so let's get back to Westport. Okay, so we have a horse cart near a slate bridge in Westport.
Yeah, this right here, there's a garage. This is all gone right now, but Slate Bridge would be just off from this picture.
Would it be towards us or away from us?
It would be towards us from this picture.
Yeah. So that's going towards Route 10, sort of.
Yeah. So the school, the small one-room schoolhouse would be off on the left, and Westport itself would be down further in.
Yeah. Yeah. And then we have Marsh's store.
This is Marsh's store,
and tell
which
me a
is right on the road.
I don't remember this at all.
Well,
but I think this building is still there, from what I understand.
The building is still there.
Yeah.
I've seen it called another name in a different picture, but Marsh owned this land at one point in time because his mill, you can just see it behind the store there. But it would have been your little local general
Supplies,
store where you could buy most anything that you needed. That's Marsh's mill that you can see in behind it. The river would be right behind this.
Right.
And this, I've actually talked to relatives that had this. And so this was a really thriving place. Really, a lot of people made their living working at the mill.
Right.
And of course, like every other mill, burned.
Right. All you need is one spark.
There was a fire.
Yeah.
But
yeah. It's incredible when I've been doing some of the research, and the book by Reed, he talks a lot about how many cords of wood they used.
Yeah.
You know, like one business would use 700 cord of pine, plus hardwood. You know, and that's just one company.
Yeah.
And then it seemed like everybody burned down at some point, but that they would rebuild and be right back.
And it's quite odd. When you read the history books, a lot of them will tell you who operated it here, and then it was sold. So different names,
right?
You know,
right.
And when you find pictures, a lot of times if there is something written, they'll have the name, and it's like, ah.
Right.
It's
hard to keep track of it all because there are so many changes, and you know, there's people that went out west, and then the names come back. You know, people were just doing whatever they could, I think, to get by or to make a living. Yeah. So yeah, I think Westport, the more I look into it, it seems like a very small area. I don't know how many miles Westport is really, but it seems like a real village. You know, like when you drive through, there's a few buildings where you can see that there were big farms there. I believe there was a pick-your-own strawberry farm back in like the 60s or 70s.
Yeah. You were talking about the I think his name actually was Don Kent, but
yes,
not
the Kents.
Not the
yep.
not the meteorologist we might remember.
Yeah.
But they owned the house for many years.
Right.
A nice couple lives there now that's trying to restore it all up.
That's a lot of work.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Because there's another one down the road that is, I think, like a pumpkin-colored farmhouse. That's a pretty big house there too. And then you can tell, you know, like you can tell from the houses the different ages. You know, a lot of them were built in like probably the 70s because you've got houses of all different ages
that little area of Westport where the depot was and everything.
Yeah.
There's a well up there, and actually the water from that well went down to all those different houses.
Wow.
So
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Because we have some pictures that will be coming up, and one of the places where there was a depot, I actually know the person that lived there back in the 60s and 70s, and the depot was there, but they had built on. So there's lots of different pitches of the roof. I can't imagine having to shingle, you know, the house, but it does still have the area, and it was apparently I'll show you a picture in a minute, but it was a depot, and that was actually their kitchen and their living room. So yeah. Wow. So let's look at the Slate Bridge, and that bridge has been through a lot. Yeah,
that's the original bridge actually fell under the weight of oxen.
When was that?
I'll be wrong about the date, but I think it was 1835.
Wow, that's early.
They built another one. That one burned, and I'm sorry, I was there. I don't remember the date, but it was
is this
a very cold date.
Like in the 70s or?
No, it was, I think, in the 90s.
Oh, okay, so this is when it was burned.
Yeah, it burned.
Yeah.
Arsonists burned it. They couldn't prove it, so he didn't pay the price.
So why did they call it the Slate Bridge? Was it
because the
Slate
people
at
that
one
owned,
time?
No, because the people that owned the farm up on the hill, their name was Slate.
Oh, like a lot of the bridges, Crescent. Yeah.
So that's where it got its name. Now, this bridge you see here, that's the 2001 version of the Slate Bridge.
So that's.
Any idea how?
Is that the newer or the older?
That's the newest one.
Okay, that's the newest one.
You see how tall and square it looks like inside?
It looks a little bit modern too. It's got some rounded edges on it and things.
Yes, But that was built with state bridge aid, and the price of that bridge, if you have any inkling of it, is over $2 million.
And how much did they build the original one for?
Oh, probably 500, if not less.
Yeah.
but that bridge is quite the bridge. So
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Well,
we didn't pay that much. The state bridge
Right.
aid put in 80%.
Exactly. Yeah. But we are so lucky in Swanzey to have all these bridges, and we'll
We
do a
have four.
show. 4 bridges.
Four bridges.
And
All open to traveling public too.
right.
So.
And that means that they're open to disaster.
Yeah.
Because people forget, or they think that they can just squeeze through, and that doesn't always happen.
Yeah, we've had some different kind of accidents.
Yeah. What? You want to share any of those with me?
The most amazing, I don't know if I'll call it amazing, but the most strange one is a tree spade. And those big things that dig a tree out
Right.
and then transport it.
Yeah.
Well, it went through the bridge. This is the Carlton Road Bridge, which is one of it's our smallest, and it's our oldest bridge.
And that one's just outside of Swanzey Center?
Yeah.
Is that, okay, yeah.
Just off
And
of
you
Route
go up
32.
a little bit, and then it goes down? Yeah.
Yeah. And he made it through the bridge with the tree spade in its retracted position.
Mm-hmm.
He used it, and then he failed to put it all the way down. And he went back through. And, well, let's put it this way. It wasn't still attached to the truck when we got there.
Yeah. Wow.
He destroyed the whole side of it. So.
Oh, no. Yeah.
That's,
and that's
probably the strangest one.
Yeah.
I mean, we've had drunk people. We've had, it's...
Yeah.
They're slippery when wet. And I don't
Right.
care whether we're talking July or we're talking February. If it rains, it will be slippery inside.
Right. So slow down.
Yeah.
Yeah. What is the towing rule for going through some of the bridges?
After the tree spade incident,
Right.
nothing in tow, which means no trailers.
Uh-huh. That makes it really hard.
Yes, it does.
But the good thing about Swanzey is that you can usually get there another way. Sort of.
Crescent Bridge one.
Yeah.
That.
But you could go down. You could go down like Goodell Ave or whatever. Go down a little bit further.
Well,
and then cross
Crescent Bridge is the one on Sawyer's Crossing
Crescent.
Road.
Yeah.
And it's like
I wouldn't mind if that one got closed.
it's like
it is beautiful.
It's like a 3-mile or more
and
journey
it gets
to
used a
detour around
lot.
it, so
Yeah.
yeah, that takes the most traffic.
Right. I wonder how many cars do you think go over that a day?
Over 3,000 a day.
Wow.
So
Yeah. Okay. Okay, we've gone to Swanzey Center. We've got. Let's go back to Westport. Okay, so Westport. Let's go to the Fields Mill, and I don't know if you have any stories about the Fields Mill.
I don't. I got this picture. And,
Oh, it's got the railroad tracks.
if you see
too.
the railroad tracks
Yeah.
are there, and look, there's not just one set of tracks.
Right.
There's a track that passes through,
Yeah.
and then there's 2 other ones. So you had sidings, and those sidings would be so they could put cars off, so they could load them with their product.
Right.
And then come pick it up and take it away.
Yeah. So this.
But this is the J.C. Fields. It's a steam-powered mill because you know where the depot is up off the river.
Right, and we'll show them a picture of that in a minute too.
Quite a ways. So it was a steam-powered mill, and of course, steam-powered mills were really susceptible to fire.
Really?
Because you had to heat
Get
water
them so
to
hot.
make steam.
Right. Right. Yeah.
How did you heat water? You heated it with wood.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah. So where was that one located? The Fields Mill?
If you go up, Depot Road is sort of like this triangular shaped road off from Westport Village Road.
Right.
And the depot was just up at the top of that. And the train tracks, that's where they go through. So this would have been on the other side of the train tracks.
Huh. I'll have to look next time I go out on the snowmobile. Okay, and then we have a picture of the depot.
That is the depot.
What I find interesting about this is I work with someone who used to live in a renovated version of this depot.
this, yeah.
And so the part that we're looking at looks up towards the railroad.
Yeah.
The railroad would be in the back part, and this
Behind it,
part of
yeah.
their house was their kitchen and their living room. And then they built onto it. And, you know, like if nobody ever thought about it, you'd never think about the fact that it would have been a depot. And it wasn't your typical like people depot. It was just a place where people could stop, because what they had was, there was a river. Again, you talked about steam. There was a river on the property. It's still owned by the B&M Railroad, I believe.
Yeah.
And that was where they would fill up with water before they came into Keene.
Yeah.
So that, I mean, it was just what they did.
Yeah.
And so this person said that they could hear the whistle blowing as the trains would come around the corner, and that the conductor would throw out candy to the kids. So I just thought that was kind of
Personal
cute.
service from the...
Right. And then we have a map of Westport, which is really hard to read. But what I like about some of these maps, and you can get them at the library or find them in books, you can go online, but it tells all the different people that lived there. And I believe this area might have been called Willardville at one time. And there is a Willard that lives right at the cross there.
Yeah, and his mother, Bruce Willard, lived at the bottom toward Westport. I can't see the things from here, but anyway, his mother, I think, lived up the hill, so I can understand it would be called Willardville.
Right. And then we have a wreck that happened in Westport.
This wreck happened March 21st, 1865. Now, in 1865, in March, we were still embroiled in a civil war. So Asa Dort is the guy's name. He was issued a furlough from his Army duty, and he got on a train, I think he says somewhere around the 16th or 17th of March, headed for home. Now his family, he grew up in Marlborough, but his family had moved to Keene while he was in the service. So he was on his way home on furlough for a 10-day furlough. And guess what? Now, you didn't normally, for people that traveled the rails way back then, you didn't normally go to Keene on the Ashwellet line. That was not the normal way. You normally went to Bellows Falls, and then you'd get a train from Bellows Falls coming down through Walpole and Westmoreland down into Keene.
Right.
Conductor came and woke him up and said, "Hey, I got good news for you. We found there's a washout, but before Bellows Falls, so they can't go that way. So we're going to go right to Keene." Well, the next thing he knew, all chattering and clanging, and they wrecked.
So did they hit another train?
No, what happened was, and probably this mill, J.C. Fields Mill, there was a pile of wood, 4 foot long, piled next to the track. Well, at some point it had fallen over, and the train hit it, and that was the result.
He thought he had it made.
And he said, fortunately, because the engineer didn't know the track that well, he was going slow. Otherwise, it might have been worse.
Well, it doesn't look very good to me, as it was.
So that was his experience of coming home from
So how
furlough.
long did he have at home? Like a day?
He had he said they sent a train at 2 a.m. This happened at midnight, and they said they sent a train from at 2 a.m.
Pretty fast,
down
I suppose.
to pick him up.
Yeah. So at that point, how were they communicating? How would they have communicated? Telegraph?
In the 1830s, it would have been telegraph, if that existed. I don't know if it existed
But
up
I mean,
here at that
to
point.
have
But
a train get there in 2 hours, that's pretty quick.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. You know, there's just so many stories about things that happened in Swanzey, and I really enjoy looking at the pictures and learning more. And what we're going to do is, on future shows, we'll focus on different topics. So right now, in our first few shows, we've been talking about stuff, things that I remember, things that you remember. But what I'd like to talk about is, more specifics about the covered bridges, some of the farms, restaurants, just different things that we grew up with that people might have some kind of an idea about. I'd also like to interview Mike Johnson, because his dad, when we talk on a previous show about North Swanzey and the Cheshire Fair and different things, or East Swanzey, they had a lot to do with the whole area as well. And I know that he did some of the shows with Evan Barlow. But I think there's a lot more to tell that, if he's willing to share. But it's just like everybody else. There's a lot of people out there that maybe don't think that they have something to share, but they really do. And if you don't tell us or don't tell your family about it, it may get lost.
Yeah, so. It's what I like. I started out with a bunch of photos that my grandmother had, and when Facebook came along, I wasn't into Facebook until we got into it with the old homestead, and to do some marketing with them, and then it's like, hey, that's where a good place to put photos on. So Swanzey Old Photographs, that's how that came about. Mm-hmm. And the good thing about that is you put up a photograph and you get a lot of people with their memories.
Right.
And that's what I like about it.
Right, right.
That's what it should be used for.
Exactly. So your Facebook page is what again?
Swanzey Old Photographs.
Swanzey Old Photographs. And I have a Facebook page for the show now as well, for Swanzey Then and Now. Yeah. And these programs will be on YouTube, as well as channel 1301 for our local cable access. So there's lots of places and lots of ways to change. I'm still having a hard time with
I know, the box. 4 digits.
I know. It seems like too much, doesn't it?
When I was growing up, there was, 3, 4, 5? There was, I know. Maybe 4 channels to watch.
Yeah.
5 if you want to watch Snowy.
And had the ears, and you had to move them just right. But yeah, I mean, there's just so many things that we've gone through, or things that people can share that I just want to hear from you. So please share your information. So there's lots of ways that we can get the word out. So one of the reasons that we are doing these shows as well is because there's lots of buildings in the area that need to be saved. There are properties that need to be conserved. And we want to see that these are saved for our kids, our grandkids along the way, so that they'll have something to look back on. Because if we don't get the word out there, then they may not be able to know the stories or see the different things that are around. And then we've got the museum in West Swansea.
Right.
Yeah. So the museum opens in April, I believe, and is open through September or so.
Open around Memorial Day.
Memorial Day, yeah. Right. Yeah, so, I think that if people are interested in more information, they can go to their libraries, they can go to the museum, and if you have never been to the museum, that you are in for a treat, because they have a fire, what was it, a tanker?
There's a steam engine.
Steam engine, right.
The steam pumper.
Yeah.
Built in Manchester, New Hampshire, Amesquig Steel. The Amesquig mills.
Yeah, they have little motorized things to show you different kinds of motors that they used to use. Yeah. They have Marauder uniforms, which is hard to believe that when we used to, if you don't know what the Marauders were, they were the band, Scarlet Marauders. Yeah. Back when I was growing up, I would never have thought that they would ever have gone away, because it was so much fun listening to them play. So today we've been talking about Westport mostly, but if you have something that you'd like to share, I know I've said it several times, but please just get a hold of us. And you can get a hold of Lee at your Facebook page again, which is?
Swanzey Old Photographs.
Or my Facebook page, which is Swanzey Then and Now. And we hope that you'll share some of your stories and possibly be a guest if you're interested. So thank you, Lee, for joining me again. And we've got a lot more to share. Thank you.